welcome to the special telecast of We the People coming to you tonight from Lucknow. We're here at the Christ Church School. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in the city. And before we come to the subject of today's debate, what makes this school really interesting is a little notice outside the school where the school has announced that children have to go home and tell their parents, you must vote, and there's an incentive too. If parents vote, children get an extra 10 marks. So I can only imagine, I think a big round of applause already for Christ Church School, encouraging in a very unique way people to go out and vote. Now on the program today, every time there's an election, it's as if our politicians suddenly remember the condition and state of India's Muslims. Most recently, there has also been a sharp controversy triggered over whether India's Muslims need the benefits of quotas. This after the Congress controversially announced a sub-quota for minorities within the 27% OBC reservation commensurate with the population of minorities in different states. Then, as usual, it became competitive one-upmanship between parties, with other parties too suggesting that they would support quotas, except the BJP, which called this a communalization of politics. On the program today, we're going to debate the politics that are played out in the name of India's Muslim, especially in the Uttar Pradesh heartland, where their vote will be decisive in deciding who forms the government here in the political capital of Lucknow. Rita Bahuguna Joshi, if I can start with you. Isn't it, in a sense, placing the Muslim voter of this state and indeed of the country into a kind of siege mentality, into a kind of forced victimhood by suggesting that they need quotas to move ahead and then suggesting this only when elections are here?
Well, I think a wrong perspective has been taken on this issue. You see, with the Mandal Commission, this issue will come up. And the Mandal Commission report had clearly enumerated the status of the Muslims, and they had included them in the list of backwards. And later on, we had the Satchar Committee report and the Rangnath Mishra Committee report. And both these reports had very detailed out the pathetic condition of the majority of the Muslims, whom they call Paswanda Muslims, and that suggested that a sub-quota should be put for them or should be secured for them. And the Congress party in its 2009 manifesto had guaranteed that if we come to power, we will have a sub-quota for the Muslims. And the nation voted for us. It is just coincidental that it was announced before the UP elections.
Just now, coincidental.
Of course it
just
is.
Coincidental.
Yes,
you can say this with a straight face. It is just, is anything in politics ever just coincidence?
It had to happen. See, it had to happen. The process was on. And if it happened just before the elections, why should anybody be irked by it? It is a good decision.
Okay, so you're saying it's a political promise. It's coincidence that it was resurrected at the time of elections. But let's look at the issue. The issue really is it a good policy or a problematic policy? Sudhitra Kulkarni, the BJP has of course taken a position that this is a communalization. But the fact is that the BJP has also played quota politics in the past. It may not have done that with religious minorities, but it has taken a position, for example, on OBC quotas. So where does the BJP occupy its moral high ground on this issue?
We are not against quotas in principle. But we are most definitely against religion-based quota. And this debate, we must remember, did not begin today or in 2009. This was debated in the Constituent Assembly in 1947 in a committee that comprised Dr. Ambedkar, Jawaharlal Nehru, Patel, Maulana Azad, and many other very senior leaders of the freedom movement. Should there be religion-based reservations or not? Because this was a demand of the Muslim League. And the committee, the Constituent Assembly, unanimously rejected this, that there should be no religion-based reservations. Subsequently, our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in 1961, wrote a letter to all chief ministers against religion-based reservations, saying, in fact, warning that communal reservations are not only a folly, but they are a way to disaster. My question to the Congress leaders today, so far, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, the Prime Minister, none of them have answered the question, why have they gone against the guidelines of their own first Prime Minister? If they are honest, they should come out with an explanation that Nehruji was wrong.
Okay, Rita Bogura Joshi, before I come to
Well,
Shahid
I-
Siddiqui.
yeah. See, it's
a
very-
serious question.
We don't-
Legally also, there is a serious question mark over whether minority-driven, religion-based reservations will even be upheld legally.
See, you cannot have a static system or a static law. There has been a debate on this for the past 30 years, and the Supreme Court has put its given its confirmation. When this reservation came in Andhra, the Supreme Court came out with a judgment that it was okay and it was all right. The question is that if there is a quota in Kerala for a long time, in Andhra, in Mizoram, in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, and a sub-quota also for certain castes in Bihar, which includes Muslims, then I think in UP they should not be making such a huge noise.
Shahid Siddiqui, the Samajwadi Party, which often
Bhagat,
positions itself...
will you allow me to rise above party?
I will be
because this is a
the
very
happiest
serious,
person
this is a
if
national
you
issue.
all do that.
So I would like to do that.
Okay.
So please don't bracket me with a party alone. Because I would like to say that Muslim leaders in the Constituent Assembly rejected the idea of a separate quota for Muslims, believing that in independent secular India they will have level playing field.
Yes. Yeah.
But what has happened in last 64 years is that because of 4 reasons, very briefly I'll go into that. Abolition of Zamindari, Muslims suffered mainly in UP. Urdu language decline, Muslims suffered, they lost their mother tongue. Reservations were, earlier there was 30% reservation in railway, police, everywhere. So Muslims were in jobs and then Muslims were artisans. All 4 areas Muslims suffered. So Muslims have become, have been marginalized because of very reason. The fundamental idea of quota is to provide crutches to those who cannot run equally, who do not have equal...
Your argument is, it is true that at the time that the constitution was drafted, India's tallest Muslim leaders were against a separate quota.
Maulana Ali, everybody
Yes,
said that.
but the way our independent country has developed, Muslims have not been brought to pass, so quotas are necessary. That is your essential argument.
That is what every report,
Okay.
not we,
I
every
will
report
take
has
that- I
said,
will take
and
that back.
therefore we need quota, but not the quota. They are providing that 4.5%.
We want even more.
It is not honest. It is not honest. That is not for Muslims, number one. It is not for Muslims. It is misleading the people of Uttar Pradesh, people of India by saying it's a quota for Muslims. It's a quota for minorities.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.